from WSL Pure. This is One Ocean. Hey everyone, Reese here. Today, we'll learn how meditation helps Air Copeland keep a calm mind while tackling how to fix a literal ocean of plastic pollution. As most of you listening have probably heard by now, plastic pollution in the ocean is really bad. Like more than 8 million metric tons of trash entering the ocean a year. We talk about this a lot here, and the Gyres Institute has been researching, raising awareness about, and advocating for policy about it for 10 years. They're legends, they're just a legendary group within the plastic pollution movement. And today we're going to talk to Air Copeland, who's their new executive director. I thoroughly enjoyed connecting with Air for this conversation. We talk about how he thinks about our future planet as a new expecting father, his background as a producer of a documentary on race in surfing, and how Zen Buddhism influences his approach to environmentalism, helps him keep a calm head. I got a lot out of it, and I hope you do too. Okay, here's Air Copeland. Really happy to be here with you, Air.
Likewise.
I'm stoked. We've been trying to schedule this for a little while. Air, do you want to introduce yourself and however you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing for me to say, oh, this is my buddy Air, and he does some stuff with Gyres, but how do you identify?
Well, my full name is Air Copeland, and I go by Air. Just easier in terms of pronunciation and everything else. But I grew up in upstate New York in Cleveland, Ohio, and, son of a physician, and, always was drawn to kind of more or less health and wellness and, that kind of life. But I knew I didn't want to be a doctor for sure, because I saw what my dad had to go through, and it was crazy and demanding and intense. But at the same time, I was always drawn to that space. And then, fast forward maybe to like 1998, I was watching, I think, a Chicago Bulls game, and they were mentioning Phil Jackson. This was in the Jordan era, and they were saying Phil Jackson was like this Zen master. And I remember I was working in like a coffee shop or something, and I asked my coworker, I was like, what is this Zen thing? And and I got completely, I think he said something like it's a state of being or something like that. And I just was like, oh my God, I need to be in that state of being, right? And I kind of went with that, and it was really fun. Just spontaneously got into yoga and meditation and practiced Zen for about 6 years. And
like Zen Buddhism?
Zen Buddhism, dude. Yeah.
That's
in Chicago.
Why you're so chill.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this was a long time. This is like back in 1998. So there's been a lot of ruffling of feathers in my life since then. But it was really an opening for me to kind of understand kind of another way of seeing the world and thinking and that kind of thing. And then I moved to Los Angeles, and, I actually was studying acupuncture and Chinese medicine, but I knew I didn't want to be a clinician. And then I started to consult with a bunch of wellness companies throughout Southern California, ended up at Equinox, helping them kind of scale their health bars in Southern California. And it was really great. Then, just one day, I was going out to surf, and this trainer comes up to me, and he's like, wait, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm about to go surf. He's just like, wait, black people don't surf.
No.
Yes, it happened. And then...
What year was this?
This was in 2004, right? But this was the best thing this is like an incredible thing, because
right.
We had about a 4-hour conversation after
this
stranger. I mean, I seen him before. He was a trainer in Equinox, and he was just curious about, like, I've never seen a person of color surfing, So
you think he was coming from a more genuine space?
100%.
100%.
During the 4-hour conversation, we had we talked about race and in general, and then race and ocean culture. And it just was kind of this organic thing. And at the end, he was just like, I want to make a documentary about this. And because he was an aspiring documentarian, he got his degree in peace and justice studies at Fordham University. His name was Ted Woods. And he's like, the only way I'll do this documentary is if you are my producer. So I said...
Had you produced anything?
No. In fact, what happened was that evening I went home and I Googled, I was like, what does a producer do? I can't even remember what came up. And I'm not even sure I know what a producer does now, but
they produce things.
They produce things, right?
I've had the same question from my parents and stuff. Because I worked in LA for a while in production, and I remember them being like, I was like, well, this person's a producer. What does a producer do?
What does it really do? Yeah, exactly.
They produce things. They make things happen.
Exactly.
Next question.
Right, totally. But there was just something about the guy that that just resonated with me, and I said, let's do this. And then we started to produce whitewashed. And that was the beginning of my filmmaking space. But I was still kind of, working because, I had to, we had to make a living while we were making this film. And I was working in a lot of health systems, cottage health system in Santa Barbara, introducing wellness programs into that space. And then I integrated Dr. Dean Ornish's program for reversing heart disease at UCLA Health, and made that scale to a lot of other locations throughout the country. And it was an incredible experience through and through. And Whitewash, when that came out, we can talk more about the specifics of that film, but when it came out, it was really just revolutionary. No one's ever seen a film about Black surfers before, and it was kind of cool how that all came to be. So I kind of have this Renaissance kind of background, and
then from there you were working in animals, and now you're working in marine plastic pollution.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, what happened was, two recent events happened that kind of steered me towards where I'm at right now. One is I'm going to be a dad, in about a month and a half. So.
What are you even doing here? Shouldn't you be busy prepping, freaking out?
Dude, I got to do all.
Kids, so I have no idea.
I have to do all I can now because I know later I have no life. It just completely dissipates when it comes to doing what you want to do. It's all about family. But so my first thought when we found out that we were expecting was, what kind of environment am I bringing this kid into? And, I've always been an environmentalist since I was like maybe 15 years old. And, with all the things going on with climate change and, all the craziness with policy throughout the world, I said, I have to do something about this. The other event that happened was maybe about 3 years ago. And this is a memory that just kept sticking with me. I was surfing right out here in Bay Street, which you probably shouldn't surf in Bay Street, to be honest. But anyway,
not after the rain.
Not after the rains, right? Yeah, exactly. But I was paddling out, beautiful little wave was coming in, and I caught the wave and was really like jazzed to like have a great sesh, and on my way to paddle back out to the lineup, there were like 4 plastic bottles that were kind of crumbled up and used, and I had a moment. I was just like, Jesus Christ, like what is this, And it really just kind of woke me up. Like this is a problem. I mean, this is in our backyard, and we have plastic bottles, floating in the ocean. And so I married those two things, of having a new life come into the world, and that memory, that experience, and then was looking for my next kind of career opportunity, and 5 Gyres showed up, and it was incredible. Anna and I just like.
Yeah.
Anna Cummins is the co-founder.
Yep. So real quick, what is the 5 Gyres Institute?
So the 5 Gyres Institute is a nonprofit organization really just focused on stopping plastic pollution. Our mission is to empower action against the global health crisis of plastic pollution through science, education, and venture. So we do a lot of different scientific research on everything from microplastics to we have a ban list, Better Alternatives Now, which essentially kind of is a list of top 20 products that are causing harm to the environment.
5 Gyres Institute is incredible. I mean, that's how I know you. 5 Gyres Institute is a WSL Pure partner. And, I personally have sailed with Marcus and Anna. My wife and I sailed from Bermuda to New York on the Sea Change expedition in 2015. So
amazing.
We're ambassadors. We're believers. We understand the upstream policy solutions. I really get it, but I'd love for our listeners to understand a little bit more about it, because one of the things that I love about 5 Gyres Institute is all of these people that they've enabled and empowered to go out and be real advocates for that change. You know, I think of, myself, my wife, but also, David Stover over at Borreo and Tim from Take 3 for the Sea and, all these different advocates who are now out kind of in diaspora and pushing the message further and further and further, right? So there's like incredible alumni, basically, right? With these annual 100%. Expeditions. So maybe can you speak about the expeditions a little bit and that as part of the 5 Gyres programming?
Yeah, well, I think, we've done at least 20, I think it's maybe 22 expeditions over the years, which is pretty incredible. I mean, just this last summer, I think we went to Galapagos Island. This was prior to me being the executive director.
So people are like, why is he saying I think?
I know. I've
just started.
I've only been on board 2.5 months. So but
And you're preparing for a baby.
And I'm preparing for a baby, amongst other things in life. But but we've done so many expeditions throughout the history of the organization. The organization has been around for about 10 years now. And what's really amazing about the expeditions is not so much just going out to the ocean, even though that's a profound experience in itself, but it's the people that are also joining the experience. I mean, we've had everyone from CEOs to corporate, executives. We've had
down to like students,
high
school kids,
everybody has, in every demographic has been on one or another expedition with Five Gyres. And I think for most people, they're put in the middle of the ocean, and I think there is a wake up that happens, a sense of insight about, one, how beautiful the ocean is as a whole. And it really puts in perspective that we are a blue planet. If you are an astronaut and you go up to space and you look back down, you're going to see blue. And so I think it really puts that in perspective. And out of that, I think you kind of have this sense of love and compassion for all that the ocean encompasses, all of the sea life, all of the plant life in the ocean, everything as a whole. And when you see the natural cycles of the ocean be interrupted by plastic, large and small, because, some of the biggest things are like fishing equipment, fishing nets and buoys and things like that. But all the way down to microplastics, which are, smaller than 5 millimeters, you notice that there is this huge, as Marcus would say, a plastic smog that's happening in this beautiful blue ocean. And when you get to have that direct experience, I think it automatically sparks something in you to have a call to action, like this is unacceptable. But then what happens is and this is what happened on Marcus's first expedition, is that you really can't tie the microplastics to a specific brand or a specific company, because it's so small, and it loses its flotation, and it becomes really dense and floats to the bottom of the ocean. You can't really, and it's tampered with by fish and mistake it for food. Obviously, ultraviolet light and sun. It really breaks down. And I think one of the things that was really special about the research that Marcus and Anna and Five Gyres have done over the years is like created a space where we can now tie certain plastics to brands. We have a web-based app called Trash Blitz that because we decided we needed to move more upstream because we knew that is the root of where all this plastic is coming from. But Trash Blitz is a web-based app that allows us to collect that data more upstream and tie it to specific brands and companies and that sort of thing.
Yeah, you're enabling people to be a part of the process. So
correct.
Kind of citizen science a little bit, enabling people to say, hey, I saw this brand, and you're tagging it, and then you're able to say, we're seeing a lot of this brand show up in this place, et cetera, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And then you can address it directly with either, policy change or corporate engagement, just really, highlighting kind of the problem. And now everyone knows what's going on. I mean, for the most part, they know that there's a major problem. But, it takes action to make change and make things go in a better direction.
Yeah. It's funny that you say everyone knows now, right? Like, because this problem actually is pretty old. I read Marcus's book. So Marcus is one of the co-founders of Five Gyres, and he, drifted out to Hawaii on a raft made of 15,000 plastic bottles, which is insane. But, I read his book, and he talks about how not only has he and Anna been on this for, 10 plus years, you have Charles Moore and Al Galita who were on it before that. And,
correct.
You have scientists who were working on this in the Northeast and tracking plastic pollution in the Atlantic in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
And got pushback from, the big industry to say, hey, you don't do this research, et cetera.
Yeah, well, they've known about plastics being a problem even at its inception back in the 1950s. They knew that this could, that it really wouldn't go away, and that it's going to be a problem. But industry chose profit over people. And it wasn't, also too, the culture back then was a lot different because we, had a lot more, it was a culture more of reusing things. We would have glass bottles of milk, and then we would turn
the milkman model.
The milkman model, yeah exactly.
For our younger listeners, the milkman, was this stranger who showed up at your house with milk.
With milk, yeah.
I can't say that I ever had that experience as a kid.
Me neither. But it was funny. I was talking to my parents maybe like a month ago, and just trying to talk to them about the problem, they're like, you guys are so behind. We've been doing this our whole life. Like, so it's kind of in this interesting way, going back to a reduce and reuse culture.
As the solution,
the solution, yeah.
Right.
Because we've evolved to a throwaway culture because, back, in the 50s and, it was this, plastic was so exciting because it was durable and it had many different things that you could do with it. And
you didn't have to do dishes.
You didn't have to do dishes, right? Yeah.
That was the famous Time magazine.
Life magazine, yeah. It's like,
Susie Homemaker, no more doing dishes, just
right.
Throw it all away, you get your time back.
Yeah, exactly. And it gave a sense of convenience for the family, which kept going on and on and on and on and on. And in the 1990s, when the tech stuff started to happen and globalization started to happen, production scaled like you wouldn't believe, and it's been on that track ever since.
Totally. Now, so then within that, we now have this trend, and as you said, it seems like everyone knows about the issue. And I will say, I won't claim to be on it sooner than anyone else, but in the last 5 years, like since my eyes were open, certainly, it does feel like more and more people just are seeing it,
right?
And it's so funny, and I want to ask, like, is it the straw? Was it the straw? Was it the fight for the straw?
For me, I think. I mean, Christine Figener, who was the research scientist on that boat with the turtle, and the straw was in the turtle's nose. The famous video,
the
right?
Straw on the turtle's nose,
which I think got like 30 million views or something
crazy,
like that, which is insane. I've just been lucky to have the opportunity to meet her, and it was really interesting to hear her perspective on that whole experience, and it was just such a big shock,
Right.
But it's amazing that a simple video like that can spark an entire movement of awareness of the problem. And to me, that was kind of the beginning of the progress that we've been making over the years.
It made the problem visible. And I think in the environmental movement, that's one of the challenges with the climate crisis,
right.
is that it's like, well, I can't really see it. The reality is you definitely can see it.
You can see it,
if your eyes are open, you're like, you see the erosion, you see sea level rise, you see the storms,
totally.
you see the heat waves. That's all connected in there. But some people, their eyes aren't quite open to that yet. But with plastic, it's like, I can see this, and I know that it's dirty and bad, and I don't want it on my beach, or I don't want it in my surf.
Well, the thing exactly, and the thing about that video in particular is that it kind of spoke to every demographic. I mean, because a kid would see the turtle and connect to it and like, oh, that's horrible. The animal rights people would see the turtle and be like, there you go. You see, this is what we're talking about. And then the environmentalists, same thing. So it spoke to every group, every demographic. And there was a story there. And then everyone was just like, okay, no more plastic straws, But then, which is important, because that led to beach cleanups, and that led to looking at the root of the problem and moving more upstream, and that led to innovation, coming up with new type of products that could work in replacement of plastic. So it's always a good thing. Stories, dude. Stories are the key.
You answered my question that I didn't even get to ask yet, but it was about some people like to criticize, why are we talking about straws? They're only 0.03% of all the plastic in the ocean anyway.
Right.
We need to focus on the bigger things, but like you said, it's the top of the funnel. It engages people who maybe wouldn't have otherwise engaged.
Totally.
And now all of a sudden they're going, oh, and that fork and that plastic knife and that bag and that thing. And now before you know it, they're going, oh, I want to go plastic free, to the point where, like my hometown is trying to, ban single-use plastic water bottles and stuff like that. It's like it's going down that funnel. So it's not that, in my opinion, are straws the biggest problem or threat to the ocean?
Of course not. Yeah. Right.
But it is a good thing that we're working on it, and that creates a dialogue.
Right.
For sure.
Totally. 100%. And I think the other thing that opened up after that video, and after more and more people got involved with the movement, is it highlighted where the concentration of the problem is, which is in the East, in Asia. And
wait, hang on. I'm not going to let you say that the problem is in the East and Asia without some explainer on that one.
Right. Well,
for our, because I don't know who's listening, honestly.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know who's out there and whether they know anything about this. So,
right.
But what do you mean when you say that?
Well, okay. So when you look at the concentration of plastic pollution in terms of the amount of plastic that is being put into the ocean and also in the soil, by the way, you look at places like India, you look at places like Indonesia, Vietnam, there is such a high concentration of plastic, single-use plastics, sachets, which is probably number one on the list.
And sachets are like little pouches.
Little
so it's like
packet,
single-use shampoos
Right.
and things like that, where in the theory is that these communities couldn't afford larger
just gonna
bulk
say,
items.
right.
So they bought
the
or
smaller.
the brands
Right.
created
That for them to use
smaller single-use products.
right, exactly. And a lot of those communities, a lot of those areas don't have the infrastructure to manage, plastics on any scale. And
so
this
what
is
do
also
you mean recycling systems?
recycling system,
Here
waste
we have
management,
curbside pickup and
right?
all that.
Recycling system, waste management, all of that, and everyone is just trying to survive and manage their life, and they've, especially since I know we may talk about this, but like the China ban in 2018.
Oh, we're gonna get there.
Yeah, that
You
was
didn't you didn't mention them as one of the countries,
right,
But obviously,
right. All of our, essentially all of the trash was shipped to China, and from the United States in particular was a big shipper of trash to China. And go ahead.
And not just trash, though, right? Recycling as well.
Recycling as
right?
well, right?
We,
Yeah, right.
We think that we do our job by recycling here in the U.S. You're like,
Right.
cool, I threw it in the blue bin, did my job,
Right.
check you later. But the reality is
Exactly.
we sort stuff, and then
Correct.
we send it on empty shipping containers, right? So China sends all of our goods over here.
Right.
We then sort all of our recycling, put it on a shipping container, send it back
to
and
China,
we say,
right.
make this into more stuff.
Absolutely. And continually do that and do that. And, remember when we were referencing earlier that scale from the 90s up, that production that happened in China was just insane, And so it got to a point, long story short, that in 2018, China said, nope, no more. We can't take it.
National sword.
National
Right.
giant sword.
Great
Yes.
code name for a national program of like, we're just cutting ties. Like,
Right.
Whoa-pa,
Yeah,
done.
exactly. Yeah.
So China
Exactly.
called it national sword.
National
That's
sword
it.
ban. Yeah,
We're not taking
They're
your
not taking it
garbage.
anymore. So what did that do? I mean, that basically, all of the shipping of recyclables and everything that we were shipping there, that stuff went to other places, like other countries. I mean, Japan, the UK, Germany, and the United States are the biggest countries that kind of ship everything over to China. And then they started to ship it in smaller communities like Indonesia and stuff. And like I was saying earlier, they don't have the infrastructure. So you can see what that does to community. You can see what that does to the people over there, the marine life over there.
Yeah, you end up getting these informal. So here we have the MRFs,
Right.
Municipal Recycling Facility.
Something like that, yeah.
Municipal. No, I think the R is different. Marcus is going to kill us.
He will, because I don't know.
So these MRFs, and so in
Right.
Indonesia, you have these informal ones, or in other developing nations, they're informal,
Right.
And so they're kind of illegal, not following real rules. And if they can't handle that waste, they end up landfilling it, burning it,
yes.
dumping it in a river.
Absolutely.
And that's how we're seeing this thing. So that's why I just had to not call you on it, but I just want to caveat for our listeners that.
Right. It's not.
When we talk about the problem being in Asia,
right, exactly.
It's all of our problems.
Well, that's the thing is like when you think about plastic pollution as a whole, it's not even just in the oceans. It's in the air. It's in our clothes. It's
slow down.
right
In the air. Right.
It's in the air, man. I mean,
I caught
it's
that
crazy.
article, but for anyone who's freaking out right now,
Right.
and covering their mouth with their shirt.
Yes, totally.
Explain that.
Well, there's plastics in themselves, Let's just say, for example, I'll put it this way we'll start with clothes. Okay. So, plastic fibers or whatever are made, into all kinds of different fleece and all kinds of clothing wear and things like that. And then you put that in your washing machine, and all of those fibers kind of filter themselves out, and it, gets into the air and into the walls, and you're actually, then you start breathing it. I mean, you obviously can't see this stuff, but it is actually happening. And then also too, when it comes to 99% of plastic comes from fossil fuels, which is contributing to climate
What are
change.
those?
That are
Are those bad?
Right, exactly, but that's contributing to obviously the whole climate change, global warming deal, and so it spreads. It's in every capacity. I mean, it starts from extraction into manufacturing, and then it goes to the consumer, and then the consumer throws it out into waste, and then it goes in, either burns or is chemically broke down. And so that process is very systematic. And the other thing is most consumers aren't aware of that. They don't really know where plastics come from. They just go to Target or, any store and pick up whatever they need because that's what you do. But it's hidden, and it reminds me a lot, just coming again from the animal world, like people really don't know what's going on with animals and facilities and slaughterhouses and that kind of thing. I mean, you may see footage here and there, but they don't know that process and how detrimental it is. So it's, and all of this, all the collective is contributing to a worse environment.
Yeah. I feel I want to correct myself, and not necessarily that fossil fuels are inherently bad. They exist. It's how we use them.
It's right, exactly.
And produce them other things, because we wouldn't be here and having this conversation over,
without fossil
computers and things and
But yeah, and that's the same thing, to be honest, with plastic in itself as a material. It's not the material in itself is a pretty phenomenal piece of material. Right. I mean, that's what is attractive about it for many, corporations and companies, is that it's durable, it's flexible, it has all these different properties from PVC to, PET all the way down. But it shouldn't be in our environment is the problem.
How we manage it, how we apply it, and how we use it. How we, do we need potatoes wrapped individually in, cellophane or
exactly,
plastic? Probs not.
Totally, yeah, absolutely.
I don't need my apple wrap, but I get that there's an argument for freshness and what that does.
Of course,
I get all these things, but we need to be pushing for better and better solutions.
We do. We need to be and the other thing that I think people need to be aware of with the process of producing plastics is that, a lot of these petrochem facilities are right near lower income communities. And I've read many statistics that say that those communities, in terms of cancer rates and various other diseases, skyrockets like almost, I think, 40% higher than the average person in that particular city or country. And that is a problem, and because there's the build out of these petrochemical facilities are growing like you wouldn't believe. I think there's supposed to be an increase of like 40% by 2025 of these facilities from Houston, Texas, all the way through the Ohio Valley.
Like, slow down. You're saying, so we got petrochemical facilities, which are refineries and whatnot, producing plastics, et cetera.
Right.
And we're going to see a 40% increase.
That's the latest statistics.
In the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years.
Somehow I thought it was further out. But
yeah,
that's crazy.
I think there was I can't remember 100% the number, but I think ExxonMobil was going to put out about like $20 billion in building out facilities just in Houston alone. So that's the challenge is as far as we're moving, progressing, highlighting the picture, there's a long way to go.
For sure.
And the big statistics, like by 2050, more plastic in the ocean than fish by volume.
I wasn't going to go there.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, I don't want to scare people.
Know that
I don't want to scare people, but yeah. But it's an urgent issue, and I'm happy. I mean, I'm a lot more positive about solving this problem than I was a few years ago, for sure. And I know Marcus.
That's super interesting.
Anna, yeah.
Why?
Because the movement is growing dramatically on a global scale. We've also seen pivotal policies that have been put in place. I mean, I think even in India in October of this year, they're planning on banning a good portion of single-use plastics by 2023. That's huge.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I think Japan is like maybe by 2030 or something that's been talked about. And there's obviously policies here in the United States. We have SB 54 and AB, I think 15 something. I can't remember the
1080.
1080.
I thought it was 1080.
Was it 1080? Oh, yeah, SB 54 and AB 1080.
I lose track of the bill numbers.
I know. I'm the worst with
that's
with
why
the
policy. That's why we have policy people who can recall, each line by line.
I know.
That was Senate Bill 54.
Exactly.
I can't keep track of the policy numbers.
Yeah,
but yes, in California, it's one state, but it's a big economy.
It's a big economy. It has a huge influence. Right. That's the other thing. And I think there's something similar in New York. And so it's happening. I mean, Portland or Oregon, I think, is working on something. So again, it gives me hope, and I think you have to have that. I mean, there's some people in the movement that are just like, we're done, we're fucking doomed, man. But I go back to what even sparked this for me, and I got a kid on the way, and I gotta do all I can to give him love and hope and safety in this world.
That's awesome. That's beautiful. I want to talk a little bit more about Five Gyres. So you mentioned a couple things in there. You mentioned the ban list.
Yeah.
What is the ban list for those who don't know it?
It's a scientific process.
Better alternatives now.
Better alternatives now.
Right.
We've done ban list 1.0 and then a ban list 2.0. And then we're working on a ban list 3.0. And it basically lists the top 20 products that we see most in our environment as far as things that we need to change.
So kind of like an audit of what's out there.
Basically, it is an audit.
And
so
what are the top 5?
I would say, well, number 1 is foodware, food waste, which I think we see that on dramatic scales.
So your plastic forks, your plastic knives,
yeah, exactly.
And straws, are they included in that? Or is that
Straws,
beverageware?
I think that's
is beverageware a category?
I don't even know.
Did
I
make that
kind of
up?
like that though. You got to make that up. I'm not sure if that's part of foodware or not. I can't remember off the top of my head. But bottle caps, cigarette butts is up there as well. We see those in abundance.
People don't realize that cigarette butts are plastic.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Like,
the filter. Yeah. Exactly. It's crazy.
Smokers just flick them, and it's like, no, that's plastic.
That's plastic. Yeah. Exactly.
Cool.
It's unbelievable. Yeah. And then there's a few others, but you can go on our website, fivegyres.com, and there's a list of all of the 20. I'm sorry, .org. Yes, you're right. I keep thinking.
Five Gyres. Actually, wait, let's pause.
Yeah.
What's a gyre?
Oh, a gyre. Yes, that's that. Because I actually, when I first heard Five Gyres, I was just like, I automatically went to Five Guys.
Honestly,
it's just like
the name is great.
It is a great name.
It makes sense if you know what's up.
Right.
But in here, I've definitely struggled. People are like, "What? Five Gyres?" I'm like, "No, gyre. It's kind of a soft
We
G.
get that all
like,
the time.
So
we
anyway,
get that all the time. But
fivegyres.org.
Right. Five Gyres.
And explain the gyres.
Okay, so a gyre is an ocean current system that kind of begins on the shoreline level and moves its way out to certain areas in the middle of the ocean. And it's kind of like a vortex. It kind of pulls in all of the different particles and trash, that we kind of throw into the ocean. But and there's 11 gyres, but there's
You got to change that name.
Oh, I know, right? Exactly, big time. There's 5 main gyres: the North Pacific, South Pacific, North Atlantic, and South Atlantic, and the Indian Ocean are the 5. But it's not like. This is the misconception of the gyres, is that you can kind of see all of the plastic floating around in a circle, and you're like,
totally.
Oh wow, I want to go into plastic swimming pool. No, it's not like that.
The island.
The island, yeah,
the
exactly.
island of trash.
The island of trash.
I remember, when we got on the boat in Bermuda and we got underway and we're sailing out. We're now, 100 miles offshore or whatever it is.
Yeah.
We're out in the and I remember on that first day, someone saying, I can't wait to see the patch. Like they thought we were going to see a major patch.
Right, exactly.
And I was surprised. I'll say I was genuinely surprised that somebody had gotten as far as getting on the vessel and going out without having understood that part of it. Because I had prepared myself for. I know there isn't a big island of it.
Right.
I know that it's like smog. I got that because I had heard that from Marcus, and I understood that because it costs money to go on these expeditions and all that. So I kind of done my homework. And one person I can't wait to see it all. And I'm like, what?
I know, exactly. It's it's like some kind of tourist attraction or something like that. Yeah, I can't wait to see this great. I mean, I get that from an interest level, but it's a horrible. It's a horrible situation,
And we got out there and it was crystal clear blue water and couldn't see a thing. But every single trawl, and the trawls for listeners, they're these metal trawls. You call it a manta trawl. Mm-hmm. You essentially attach it to the vessel and drag it, and you're essentially skimming maybe a meter of the surface of the ocean.
It's a sample collector, yeah.
Yeah, so you're getting this tiny sample of the overall ocean surface. Again, the ocean is 71% of the entire planet. Mm-hmm. So a lot of surface area, and we're getting this small sample, and then you have this fine mesh that sifts out the little microplastics that are floating at the surface. So that's not even addressing all the plastic in the water column
100%.
Going down to the depths, because we've now found it the deepest parts of the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen it in the Arctic and the sea ice. I mean, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, yep.
Through that, Five Gyres was able to do the estimate of the total microplastic pollution, which has helped inform a lot of decisions and policymakers and all
absolutely,
that.
Absolutely. And like I was saying earlier, it was enlightening to kind of bring microplastics into the picture, because I think people just did not think that. I don't think they even knew that
totally.
Plastic broke down like that, and
or that we had in our toothpaste,
toothpaste.
The microbeads.
Microbeads, right? It's that was a big find too, because Five Gyres went to Lake Erie, did some research there, and discovered the microbead, which is kind of another microparticle of plastic that is in our beauty care products.
Intentionally put there. So the companies would put it there. It's a surfactant, I think they call
something
it,
like that.
So scrubs.
Right.
And so it was in face washes and toothpaste and all stuff.
All of that, yeah.
And Five Gyres Science helped inform policy to say, we got to get rid of this.
We got to get rid of it. And so much so that in 2015, Five Gyres, along with, some other NGOs, took it to the White House, and President Obama banned microbeads, which was an incredible policy.
Amazing. Yeah. Huge policy win for the team.
Yeah.
Super cool. Hey, a quick break from our conversation to give a shout out to Outerknown. They sponsor this podcast because they care about the ocean too. That's shown in their clothing, which is all made from organic cotton, recycled and regenerated fibers, doesn't use a lot of water in the process or dyes, and is made by people who are paid a fair wage. I love their stuff. I'm rocking an Outerknown t-shirt that my wife gave me right now. It's super comfy, stylish, durable, and I feel good knowing that it was made responsibly. Outerknown was actually founded by pro surfer and 11-time world champion Kelly Slater, who was determined to create a clothing company who made clothing responsibly. And you don't have to be a surfer to wear Outerknown. It's really stylish. They have great threads for men and women, and you can go to outerknown.com today and enter the code OCEAN at checkout, and you'll get 25% off your full price order. That's outerknown.com, outerknown.com. And remember to use the code OCEAN at checkout for 25% off. Check them out today, outerknown.com, and don't forget, promo code OCEAN for 25% off. Now, back to our conversation. So going back to whitewash a little bit, but also with your role in the environmental movement, because what's cool that's happened, you had people working in different spheres for years, right? And now we're seeing more and more of it working together. And what I love is the environmental justice movement getting more recognition in the overall movement, whereas I think you've had indigenous peoples maybe speaking up over here, kind of like whatever, and ocean conservation was like this old white person thing. It was only once you were like rich enough to care that you had time to, and and you're kind of seeing that change
100%,
a ton, and it's really awesome. But you now are in a leadership position at one of the organizations that's been around for years, leading the fight in plastic pollution, and you're a black male. Like that's a really cool thing. You're now a role model for a whole bunch of people who maybe didn't see a path to being a part of ocean conservation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly grateful and fortunate to again have the opportunity to lead Five Gyres in the next direction. I think for many years, and I say this all the time, a lot of these progressive movements, the environmental movement, the holistic health movement, the spiritual health movement, even the mind-body stuff with yoga and meditation, and, the animal rights movement, they all worked in silos. They always worked. Everyone knew what was going on in the other area, but no one was like connecting and working together. And I think, social media has been the key driver to that shift and change.
This is a positive plug for social media.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Because I'm not on social media personally.
I know. I wanted to ask. You're my second guest in a row who's not on Instagram at the very least, or on any social media.
No, I'm not on social media.
Okay, so this is the positive thing about social media, though.
Yeah,
so
this is
bringing
a positive
us together.
In theory, that's that's how people became aware of other movements and connected to them. Like, for example, you look at like Black Lives Matter and various social justice organizations like that, and how they're also fighting for the environment. They're also fighting for better health. And I think people were unaware of that for many years, and vice versa. So what's missing in all of these movements on every side is more diversity and equity and inclusion. And I think that is a real key element to the success, because diversity is no longer just relevant. It's self-evident, and it's going to take a variety of different dispositions and cultures to solve these complex problems together. That's what gives it its power. I think when we did whitewash, it was one element that we explored is, we wanted to look at race objectively, not surfing. Surfing was just the vehicle that the lens that we wanted to look through, but it was really like, what is this whole thing of race? Because it's not part of our biology. It's not part of our DNA, really. This is just a concept. And, they just track through the history of this country per se. But ultimately, when we start to unify and come together as people, all that stuff transcends, and you realize that we just want to live. We just want access. We just want basic needs, those kind of things.
Everybody just wants to be loved and like get home at the end of the day.
Dude, take care of your family, man, and like have a good time, I mean, we all know life is short. Anything can happen at any time. And, I learned this in a lot of, my interest in meditation and yoga is like, everyone just wants to have a sense of peace, a peace of mind, and it takes coming together as a global community, to make that happen,
Yeah, man, that's really beautifully and well said. I'm very glad you're at the helm over at 5 Gyres. You've got a Zen approach to it, whereas my fiery temper might just be upset about things all the time.
Well, that happens. I'm interrupted. I mean, I have my moments for sure, but I try to stay on the board.
Well, I mean, listen, there's a place for for anger in fueling a discussion on, hey, this upsets me. Now, how do I use that to inform?
It's interesting you say that because someone recently told me this, but someone said that they went to see a talk with the Dalai Lama, right? And there was this woman who was extremely upset, angry, frustrated with her life. She wasn't happy in her relationship. She wasn't happy with her family. She wasn't happy with anything. She was just anger. She asked the Dalai Lama, she said, how do I get rid of this anger that's destroying my life? And the Dalai Lama said he had one question for her, and he's like, have you been angry long enough? And I think that kind of sums it up. Like, how long do you want to hold on to that?
Right.
When there's peace right there.
That's a good one. I'm gonna have to use that on myself now. For me, I'll admit, generally I get upset about something. I read an article, I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, all right, back to it. It's really quick.
Right. Yeah.
I kind of like come back to neutral pretty quick, but in the moment, I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, are you into meditation and that kind of thing, or have you ever tried that kind of thing?
You're thinking of my sister, who is a mindfulness master. We look very much alike, and people think we're twins, but no, she is mindful and patient, and I am. I lived in New York for 10 years, as a result, I am impatient. No, listen, I do meditate once in a while.
Okay.
I'll go in and out of spurts where I'll like be good, like every morning, 10 minutes, kind of going, and then go on a work trip, and it just goes out the window. But here's the thing. I've said this to my sister. I'm like, man, I just suck at meditation. And she's like, there is no sucking at meditation.
Right.
It's the fact that you're doing it. Like, yes, it's okay to have thoughts. It's the point that you're taking that time to sit down and da-da-da. And I mean, that's what I then tell myself about my surfing, is that it's okay that I suck at surfing. It's the fact that I'm out there.
Right. No, it's very true though. I mean, you're right on it 100%. Yeah.
Keep getting out there.
Just keep getting out there. Yeah. It doesn't even matter, dude. It's more just sitting actually in itself is a meditation, and you look at people like Jerry Lopez and Rob Machado. I mean, those guys are like super fucking zen, man. They're incredible surfers. More so, not in terms of them just catching waves, but just their state of mind.
100%.
It's insane.
Do you have a Zen tip for anybody? Is there a tip that as like a Zen Buddhist master? I don't know how many other Zen Buddhists I'm going to have on the show. So while you're here, if you have a tip for everybody, I'll tee it up with a more specific question.
Okay, yeah.
How does Zen Buddhism help your work in the environmental movement?
That's a great question, actually. And I think this is the key to what every individual can do. Not only Zen, but any meditation practice, even just mindfulness in itself, doing the dishes, just being aware that you're doing the dishes. It all comes down to observation, to just being aware of what's happening as it is, just as it is. But what happens is the mind wants to change the dynamic. It wants to alter the situation. It's just like, this is not, I'm thinking about my kids, or I'm thinking about my work. And that's the nature of the mind. It's not like we're trying to stop that from happening. But what you realize is that, when you're just observing that activity and not getting caught up, that it goes away. It's an impermanent state. And then you're like, oh, this is all like a film. And then you just learn how to watch the film, and then it gets softer and softer, where then you're like right where you are, you're just present. And so in the environmental movement, I think if people start to just observe, just see more clearly. I'll give you an example. Before I was really into, the plastic pollution deal, I used to go into a grocery store, I'd buy normal stuff. I'd get my little, paper bags and all of that kind of stuff. And I saw food. I was like, I want that peach. I want that, cauliflower, whatever it is. But now when I walk into a grocery store, I see plastic. And which is kind of interesting because it's a transparent, most of it is transparent. You can, it's
Sure.
But it's like, I see plastic. So you're not only buying the product, you're also buying plastic. So for me, I've learned a new awareness of how to see. And so if you can take some time every day just to kind of be aware of, like in the morning, even if it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever you can do, to be aware of your state, what you're thinking about, your breathing, keep your mind on your breath and just observe it as it is without tampering it. That disciplines and trains your mind to see in a different way. And that carries with you throughout the day in all of your engagement, and you're more aware. And I think a lot of the surfing world, and what I love about surfers, is that the ocean kind of demands that of you. Because if you're not present, you're done.
Totally.
Right?
Totally.
It's like the best Zen master is the ocean itself.
So, when people do ask me about it, they're like, oh, your sister meditates and she's this mindful guru and she's written books and da-da-da and all stuff. I'm like, what about you? I'm like, But for me, surfing always has been kind of a thing. Now, listen, there are different surf sessions, right? There's that surf session where you're out at breakwater with 100 of your closest friends in a very tight area, and you're not exactly in your most mindful state.
Totally.
But if you can find that little pocket by yourself and you're staring out at the horizon,
right?
I do find that that's when my mind clears the most.
100%.
And I am the most kind of. You're aware of thoughts coming through, but I'm also just kind of clearly just going like, where's that next wave? Like I'm here,
right?
And like that's when I'm in the zone, and that's where I feel really, clean spirit.
Totally.
I've also gotten it from running. I've done a bunch of distance running, and for me, once you start to get into those runs where you get above 5 miles and you get 10
the runner's
miles,
high and all of that,
you start getting this place where your mind, the thoughts are wandering, but you're just kind of in the zone.
Yeah,
and that's always felt super meditative for me. And I come away from that being like, man, I'm so grateful for this ability to run. I'll call my sister and be like, I feel like a total hippie, but I just wanted to say I'm grateful for you because I ran 10 miles and I thought, I don't know, it was a thought I had.
Right? Yeah, but, totally.
Yeah,
Those
are really nice tips, though.
No, it's fun. It's fun, and it's not. There's no like perfection. It's not trying to get to this. I think this whole idea of enlightenment is a bunch of bullshit. To be honest, like I think.
Wait.
I do. I think it's a bunch of crap. I mean, it's you're trying to just live as it is. Doing the best you can, and just a little bit of insight, a little bit of awareness helps. So
I love it, man. One thing I like to sometimes look back and then look ahead. And I ask this one of a lot of our guests.
Yeah.
If you go back in time and change one thing in history, what would it be and why?
I would say in the agricultural revolution 10,000 years ago, the treatment of animals, because in my opinion, it's the greatest crime in human history, the way that humans treat animals. Whether you're...
Are you vegetarian? Vegan?
I'm plant-based. I'm about 90%, Okay. I think what we've learned in human history, and I don't know if you've ever read, one of my heroes is Yuval Noah Harari, and he wrote the book *Sapiens* and
I haven't read it yet. You're like the 10th person.
I don't even know if I can
me.
talk to you anymore, dude. I mean, without reading that book, it's just not I mean, what he has articulated, because he's an unbelievable historian and also an incredible mindfulness practitioner, but he speaks in detail about our treatment of animals in the agricultural revolution, and that has increased so much over the years, and the amount of suffering is like you wouldn't believe. And some people are aware of it and that kind of, and I'm not saying go vegan. I'm not one of those kind of guys. I think it's abuse that I have a problem with. It is treatment that I have a problem with. It's not meat, it's the meat industry that I have a problem with. And I would change that.
Gotcha. Cool. Mm-hmm. Now looking ahead, what are you most excited about in the future? Like what's coming up that you're stoked about?
Greta Thunberg. I think that seeing the youth rise up and tackle one of the biggest crisis to our civilization, climate change, and to rally as a global community and have the courage to do this in the midst of all of the digital revolutions and social media, and for her to stand up and say, no more is everything. And that's what I'm banking on is the hope of our youth and children.
And courage. That's
Courage.
You hit that word, and that's the one that I really get excited about.
Courage.
Dr. Kate Marvel has a really great essay, and it's not hope, it's courage. It's about how, and I do think we need hope. Not to say that we don't need hope. Hope is important, but you also have to have that courage to then act on.
100%.
In the face of uncertainty, you got to step up. We all have to, and I think these youth leaders have done an incredible job of stepping up in the face of a lot of haters and a lot of doubt and all sorts of stuff. And it's really, really beautiful and incredible. And I love the way. I've been lucky to see Greta in person twice now, in New York and then in LA.
I saw her in LA as well. Yeah.
Were you at the?
I was there.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Yeah. You should have texted me, dude. I don't know what's wrong with you. You don't care?
I was rallying people here in the office to go. I was trying to be like the shepherd and come on, we're going on strike from work. And I was like, really? Can we leave the office? Is this okay? I'm like, let's go. We're out of here. Let's go. This is part of your work. And so,
yeah, she's amazing, man. And all of them were, all those kids.
Shateska, all the kids, the local Latin youth. Really impressive.
Incredible.
And I just think it's so cool, what they're doing and how they're leading the whole thing.
Totally. Because they can see. Mm-hmm. They are like, wait, you look at what you've done to our future. And so, but yeah, it goes back to having the courage. But I don't know about you, but think about you as a kid. Did you have that could you fight?
No.
I don't think I was like that. I was always kind of an activist, but I couldn't do that.
I like to think I did, but being realistic, nah.
No, I like the idea. I think for me, the first rally that I ever did was like the Rodney King thing. I was in Cleveland, Ohio at the time, and I was just like, oh man, let's do a school walkout or something like that. But I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I was just like, I just want to be part of the crew, right?
Totally. Yeah, these kids are next level. Yeah. What else? Future looking. What's next for Five Gyres? You're now 2.5 months in this role.
Yeah, man.
What's next? You're a small team, but a great team.
Yeah, I like to stay small with a big impact. That's kind of my mantra because. There's so many players in the movement and everyone plays their role. It's grown hugely. Dramatically. Yeah, exactly. But, we, in 2020, we want to continue with our Trash Blitz activity because that is such a key driver of data and information. But we want to go one step further. We want to also collect stories of those communities that we get that data from, meaning, by the way, so we're going to Brooklyn next year, Denver, and I think Portland are our 3 cities that we want to focus on to do Trash Blitz activity. But it's the stories of the communities. Like we were talking about before, it's all stories, and we need to tell those stories better. And the combination of stories and data will, to me, have a dramatic impact on policy. So the ultimate goal is to change policy. And there's a lot of single-use plastics policies that are in the works or are ready to be pushed forward. And so if we can support and collaborate and cooperate with other NGOs in those regions to make change, I think that would be a real big victory for us as well. And we have about 1,300 ambassadors globally as well that we want to leverage to help, support our movement through and through. So we're also going to be growing that program as well.
And there's like an ambassador summit coming.
Oh, you heard about that?
Yeah, I get the emails. I'm technically an alum. I'm an ambassador.
You are kind of an ambassador. I know, right?
I got indoctrinated by Marcus and Anna. So,
yeah, that's right. You got all the backstory. Okay, I got you, man. Yeah, we have an ambassador summit. I think we're trying to do that in the summer of 2020. And
in LA or
in LA?
Okay.
Yeah, we have a couple of folks we're talking to kind of collaborate on to kind of put this whole summit together, but we're definitely going to do it. Yeah. And, we need to celebrate, people that are, kind of getting out there for us and helping us shape our mission. And yeah, I'm really excited about the future next year. And there's other stuff we're doing in 2021. I'm working on a strategic plan that's going to lay that out, but I'm not going to tell you now. Okay. But there's exciting things ahead. And I'm really, again, just really fortunate and grateful to be on board.
Awesome, man. So people can go to 5Gyres, number 5, GYRES.org.
You got it.
To learn more. Trash Blitz is Trash BLITZ.
.org.
.org?
Yes.
Oh, you have trashblitz.org. You have the whole
yeah.
separate URL.
Yeah.
And the app is available in the App Store as well?
Mm-hmm. Well,
Or is it a mobile app?
it's not a mobile app yet. It's a web-based app, but you
Web-based
just go
app.
to that
On your
website and then, yeah, you can
Easy.
yeah, work with it there. But I think we'll eventually get to a mobile app too. That would be amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah, man.
I would point people to your social media to go find you, but you're not there.
Dude, you have to see me in person, you know? And that's the way it works, you know? I'll have a cup of coffee with you or whatever, or lunch. But yeah, man, I like the freedom and the privacy and the independence.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
And you've got a kid on the way, which is super cool.
Thank you,
So,
brother.
yeah, so super stoked for you.
Thank you, man.
A lot of
Yeah.
good stuff going on. And thanks for coming on the show.
100%, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was so much fun.
Yeah.
So
I
cool.
always love hanging. Anything else you want to say to
No. I mean, I think I love what the WSL has been doing and all the great work over the years. I mean, I've followed you all since you were ASP and beyond, and it's just incredible kind of the positioning you have. And Pure as well is such a powerful arm, and you know, with your leadership and what you guys have been doing.
you didn't
Stop
have to go
trashing
here.
waves, but I'm just
Thank
saying,
you.
like, it's really cool stuff, you know, and again, just, you know, having this collective and working together is what it's all about. So yeah, I'm grateful to be on the show.
It's super cool, man. I mean, I've been very lucky that Five Gyres has been a great partner since the beginning, and you and Surfrider and Save the Waves and so 5 by Plastic Bags, all you groups out there have been doing so much amazing work. So
Totally.
the more we can help raise that story up, the better. So I'm very
Right
happy
on.
to have you here and keep us informed with whatever else we can be a part of.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Eric.
Take care.
Thanks again for listening, and thanks to Air for spending time with us. He's super busy as the new executive director at Five Gyres, and they have an exciting new chapter. I'm really excited to see what he does there. They've done incredible work so far and have just been such a key driver of the movement to eliminate plastic pollution. I'm excited to see where it goes. Go check them out at Five Gyres. That's the number 5, GYRES.org. And we also link to a bunch of relevant content in the show notes here, so do go check that out. If you enjoyed the show, please take a quick second to subscribe, rate, and review it. Your ratings and reviews really help the show get discovered and help us reach more people about the problem of plastic pollution. So if you want your beaches cleaned, you want more people to know about plastic pollution, you want them to find the show so they can learn about how to clean it up and how to be a part of great organizations like Five Gyres. All right, as always, you can find us online at WSL Pure and at wslpure.org, or email us at oneocean@wslpure.org. All right, see you next time.